everybody, Mindy Garrett here, your health and fitness coach, owner of Mind and Body Elite. And today's hashtag truth episode, I'm coming at you screaming off of a phone call and a very busy morning followed by a very busy week, actually a couple weeks in a row of crazy busyness, and realizing that I am human, not superhuman, and starting to recognize my own limitations. Can you relate? Okay, so this week's topic is about stress. Stress is hard. Stress can be good, negative, or it can be really challenging, right? So if you have encountered any sort of life change recently, you're managing stress, right? Take, for example, someone who just bought a house. You are packing up, you're moving in, you're cleaning, you're organizing, you're settling, and a lot of shifts are happening all at once, right? Are you excited about your new house? Well, absolutely. Are you exhausted because you're moving furniture, packing boxes, unpacking boxes, cleaning, getting acquainted with new neighbors and neighborhoods, your sleep cycle's off, your eating cycle's off? Probably. Did you just have a new baby? If you had a new baby, you're probably sleep deprived, probably food deprived. You're probably dealing with like hormonal fluctuations. You're completely out of your routine, right? When this little person comes into your life, it rocks your world. Is it an amazing change? Of course. But at the same time, it's creating some stress, right? What about you've experienced an injury? So suddenly the activity, your go-to activity that you love so much, you can't do it. Does that create some stress? Absolutely. I know firsthand as a runner, that's my therapy. That's where I do my best thinking. Cheapest therapy ever, by the way. And when I injure myself, last year I injured my ankle, which turned into a calf thing, and I couldn't run for a while, for a good long while. In order to rehab that injury, I had to find something else to do with that energy. I had to find a new type of therapy. But initially that created a little bit of stress, right? That was my go-to thing. That was something I enjoyed and I couldn't do it anymore. What about just daily stressors? You're sitting at work and your boss walks in with a stack of stuff and says, here you go. And you already have a stack this tall to do. And now your stack is this big, right? And you're going, really? How am I supposed to accomplish all this? Like, I was barely going to get through where I was, and now I'm feeling super overwhelmed, right? What about when you have this plan in place, and this has been your plan for weeks or weeks, maybe months even, you've got it like narrowed down, you've got maybe a vacation planned where you know where the kids are going, you know where the dog is going, you know who's watching the cat, you know who's watering the plants, you know all these things that are happening, and then something falls out of the plan, right? Somebody gets sick. Somebody is no longer able to commit to something they said they were able to do. A flight gets changed, right? A million things can happen in that scenario where you go, oh my gosh, this is like was something I was looking forward to, and now it can happen within that plan. I'm noticing my live signal is kind of tweaking in and out, so hopefully I don't lose you guys. But that's why stress reduction is so important and often overlooked. We kind of, as Americans, as a culture, we typically are like, give it to me, I can handle it, that's fine, I'm invincible, try not to show when we're struggling, have a hard time admitting that maybe we can't do it all, or we can't do it all amazingly well. I mean, we can't do 50 things all at the same time amazingly well. That's pretty challenging to do, right? Realizing our limitations, having a hard time saying no, all of those things, right? Does that sound familiar? I know I struggle with that. I end up with way too many commitments on my plate sometimes because I'm like, yeah, sure, I can do that. Yeah, sure, of course I can do that. Yeah, sure, of course. And then all of a sudden I realize, whoa, are there 5 more of me that I missed somewhere? Do I have a staff of 20 that I'm unaware of? Like, who all is taking on this load that I have taken on? Me, and do I have the time for that, right? So a couple things when you start to feel stress creeping into your life, whether it's work stress, relationship stress, just plan A fell out of whack stress, whatever stress that you're experiencing, there's a couple things that you can do, simple things, that will help reinvent, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but it will help kind of reinvent your day, reinvent your perspective, re-energize you, and hopefully empower you a little bit so that you're not walking through the rest of that day. It's like this one incident happened and now the rest of the day is just shot, or the rest of the week is just shot. Nobody wants to deal with that kind of chronic stress. And we statistically have seen, in the health and fitness world, that there is a huge correlation between the mental stress that we undergo and how it impacts us mentally, of course, but also emotionally, physically, spiritually. It is huge. There's an increased risk to heart attack, stroke, all sorts of things, negative health consequences by being under chronic stress. The body is constantly in this fight or flight, fight or flight, fight or flight. So let's talk about what can you do to reduce some of this stress, right? Because stress is going to happen. There's really no way around that. The likelihood that you're going to walk out and there's never going to be traffic again. It's never going to rain on you without an umbrella again. Plan A is always going to work perfect, and you're always going to get a great night's sleep. Like, these things are just not our reality. So how do we shift our reality so we can stress less and live more, right? We want to live in the moment. So a couple ideas for you. First, when the stress starts to happen, notice how you start to feel, right? Your heart might race, your hands might sweat, your brain starts to get a little scattered. I know for myself, I already talk fast. I talk a mile a minute when I'm stressed out. My thoughts are coming faster than I can even process them. And I don't know, out of a list of 10 things, I'm like, oh my gosh, which one should I do first? Should I do this? Well, if I do this, maybe this will get screwed up. How do I manage the list of 10? So take a time out. Tip 1, take a time out. Take a step away from what you're doing and do something else, right? Sometimes I push away from my computer and I go in the kitchen and I make myself a mug of tea, some lemon water. I did that this morning. I have my nice mug right here, my Mary Poppins mug, which makes me very happy. So this is one of my other tips about simple pleasures. But I think, do something that takes you physically out of the environment for a moment that's creating stress for you. If you're in your office, get up, walk down the hall, maybe walk into the bathroom. Even if you don't need to go to the bathroom, wash your hands or something, just kind of recenter, walk outside, take a nice deep breath of fresh air, stand up, do a little light stretching, something that physically removes you from the stress that you're in, helps you mentally recharge, helps you mentally be removed and think a little more clearly. Now, I understand sometimes when stress happens, you're stuck in the car, right? So you're like, well, what am I supposed to do? Park on, I-5, jump out of the car and go for a walk? Probably not. Like, you don't want to create worse traffic than you already have. And you probably don't want to leave your car on the side of I-5. But some tips there, right? What is something that can distract you when you're in the car? Music. Music is huge and it distracts us from what's going on, but it can be a healthy distraction, not a negative distraction. I mean, hopefully you're still paying attention to the road when you're listening to your music, but what if you're listening to something calm and soothing? What if you're listening to a talk radio show that's interesting? What if you're listening to, we've got a lot of XM Sirius satellite radio type stuff. What if you're listening to something funny, right? Or something that's interesting to you. Maybe you have an audio book on tape or on DVD, CD, any of those, devices, MP3, whatever you've got going on in your car. You have that available to you, right? So you're like, oh, I've been wanting to read my favorite book. Here's a perfect opportunity. I know I'm going to be in the car for an hour today. Why not listen to that book, right? So there's always a way to sort of mentally, physically remove yourself from that stressful scenario, even just for a couple minutes. And it helps so much to remove yourself physically if you can, but definitely mentally as well. So after you've taken that time out and you've kind of regrouped, you have to ask yourself, the thing that is stressful, is it in your control? I find most of the time that when I am saying I'm super stressed out about something, it is completely out of my control. The reason that I'm probably stressed out about it is because it's out of my control, to be honest with you, because I am type A and I would love to micromanage everything in my life. Or maybe I don't want to micromanage it and that's why it stresses me out. I don't know. But a topic for another time, right? So hi Patricia, I miss you too. Good to see you here. So back to the taking a time out and then saying, is it in your control, right? So when I get stuck in traffic, right, I'm super frustrated, I'm running late, I hate running late because again, I'm type A. So I don't like other people having to wait on me. And when I have a plan in place and then traffic throws a curveball, I'm like, are you kidding me? What is happening? I had a plan. So I have to ask myself, is it in my control? Did I leave on time, or did I leave even a few minutes early to maybe help offset if there was traffic? Yes. Okay. If I did that, then that was the part that was in my control. Being stuck in the traffic because there was an accident or something happened, that's completely out of my control. Now, as frustrating as that is, I have to be able to take a step back and say, this isn't in my control anymore. Right? And make the phone call to maybe wherever it is I'm running late and say, you know, I really apologize, I'm sitting in traffic. That's something that most people are pretty understanding about, especially depending on an area that you live in that maybe is a high traffic area, right? And things happen, you know, accidents happen, weather happens, challenges happen. I think if it happens all the time, then somebody says, common denominator, this person's always late. But if it happens on occasion and we're noticing, you know, gosh, yeah, I heard there was an accident on the highway you're driving on, be safe, right? Then we're more empathetic to that person because we understand they're probably coming out of a stressful situation. They weren't planning on being stuck in the car, and we're going to be a little more understanding to them and give them a little bit of grace and realize that they're stressed out. But we're going to ourselves say, is this within my control? Right? So the person who says I'm injured and I can't run because I have to rehab my foot or my calf or my ankle, whatever it is that within your control? Well, the injury prevention part, maybe, or maybe it's something that at the moment, you know, it wasn't really in your control, but the reality you're dealing with now is that you're rehabbing this injury. That is within your control. So within that control is you've got exercises to do to help you rehab. You've got another activity that you can maybe move into, like maybe now you're gonna bike because it's lower impact. Maybe you're gonna swim because it's great cross training for a runner, for example. So you're gonna find something else you can do with that energy, and that is within your control. So you have choices there, right? You can say, I'm going to fixate on the problem and I'm going to spin in circles and say, I'm really not happy about the fact that I can't do the thing I thought I was going to do, or I'm not going to be in the place I thought I was going to be. Or you can say, well, that's not in my control anymore, but this is. And my perspective and the choices that I make with the information I now have, that's within my control. So I am going to now say, you know, I'm going to choose this instead of this. So it's a little bit about choices there and realizing what's in and outside of your control. You know, when I go out somewhere to dinner, if I look at the menu ahead of time, I know what food choices are available to me. And for somebody with dietary restrictions, that empowers me to feel like I have some control in what I might be eating, right? So maybe I'll know what items I can order, what items aren't going to work for me. And if I look at a menu ahead of time and I go, there's a lot of stuff that I probably won't be able to eat, maybe I'm going to have a snack. Maybe I'm going to, you know, just knowing that information puts me a little bit more in control of that scenario, for example. We could go on and on about different scenarios of that, but it's a big one, right? Because when we want to be in control of it, it creates more stress when it's outside of our control. So as the saying goes, if it's out of your control, let it go, which is really hard for us to do, especially the A-typers of the world. But if it's out of your control, let it go. And sometimes I will literally say that mantra over and over in my head. Is it in my control? No. Is it out of my control? Okay, time to let it go. And then focus on something else. The next thing is reframe your perspective. So that goes with the out of control a little bit, right? But reframing our perspective can apply to just the daily stressors too. So reframing our perspective, you know, it's really hard when your boss comes in and says, here's your 5 extra assignments for the day. I'm sure you can handle it, right? On the one hand, you're thinking, are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, and you're feeling a little overwhelmed, like you gave me enough work for 5 people and I'm 1 person. So let's reframe our perspective. Is the expectation that you're going to get all of that done right now, or is that the expectation you're putting on yourself? Now, maybe the expectation is that you're going to get it all done right now from this other person. And that's a different, different issue that you would have to navigate in conversation. Or maybe that means those tasks are now prioritized over the other tasks that you were initially thinking you were going to do. But when you reframe your perspective, wow, this person thinks I'm highly capable. That's a compliment, right? This person clearly thinks I can handle what they're giving me. That's a compliment. Your ability to say, okay, so I thought I was doing these things. Now I'm going to do these things. That's okay. I'll get to these things later, because if this other person's telling me that this is more important, then I guess I need to reprioritize my schedule a little bit, right? How about reframing your perspective when it comes to the stress of like having a new baby, right? You're going, oh my gosh, am I ever going to sleep again? Like, do I have 18 years of this non-sleep stuff? Like, I didn't realize this is how hard it was going to be. I'm not eating regular. I'm not able to exercise on my normal schedule. Oh my goodness. And all the things that come with being stressed, right? But then you reframe your perspective and say, what an amazing gift this is. Have you ever gone with a child to the park, for example? You see everything through that little person's eyes, and it's all new again, right? Because they're experiencing everything for the first time. That's a gift. That's a gift. When I worked with kids for years and years, that was one of my favorite things, is that I got to hear everything through their eyes, and it was all new again. And it was fun again, and it was exciting again. And you hear and see and feel and smell and explore things in a different way because you've got this other person who's seeing it for the first time, right? And I know for me, when I'm having a stressful day, when I walk in the door and my dog runs at me and is wagging her tail and jumping up and down and giving me lots of kisses, that makes me pretty happy. That makes me smile. And children do that for us too, right? You walk in the door and your little toddler runs over and it's like, Mommy, I'm so excited to see you. Or they wake up from their nap and their arms are first, extended. They want you to pick them up. That's a gift. So we're reframing our perspective a little bit. On the topic of the dog, on the days where I'm like chasing my tail, literally, I'm sure she can relate to that. I'll come home thinking, I don't have time to take my dog for a walk. Oh my gosh, I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. There's not enough time to take the dog for a walk. I got to tell you, take the time, because a 10-minute walk can do wonders for your mind, body, spirit. It is such a de-stressor. And when you're walking a dog, it's much like taking your child to the park. When you're walking a dog, you look down and you notice they are so in the moment. You could learn so many things from your animals, right? They are so in the moment. They are not stressed out about what happened an hour ago. They are not stressed out about tomorrow, much less 5 minutes from now. They are in heaven right now. They are loving the fact that they're out and they're walking and they're looking at everything. Their senses are engaged. They smell great stuff. Springtime is awesome for that. There's so many little creatures out there, and there's flowers popping up everywhere and leaves are popping on the trees. I mean, you kind of get that little zen state of mind. The sun comes out, you're like, oh, vitamin D. Everybody loves that in the state of Washington because we don't get a lot of it. Although I've got some like halo effect here from the sun coming in, breaking the clouds there behind me. But if you have, a child to go walk with, a dog to take out for a walk, or if you're a cat person and you just like sit down on the sofa and snuggle with your cat for a few minutes, that is an opportunity to really reframe your perspective, because these are animals and humans that are in the moment. They are in the moment. And when you come back in the moment and you stop worrying about what already happened, can't control it, already happened, and you stop projecting about all the what ifs of what's coming next, can't really control that either. Hasn't even happened yet, right? You're in the moment, you're present. That is de-stressing. My shoulders always relax. I go for a walk like this, and I come home like this. Every time. And every time I say, I can't possibly go for a walk, and I walk out the door like this, marching, because I'm like, I have 5 minutes for a 10-minute walk. Halfway through the walk, something happens. That dog is so happy, and I forget what I was stressing about. And a lot of times I sort of problem solve it. Like whatever it is that was stressing me out, I'm like, oh, here's a solution I hadn't thought of. Again, physically removed from the stressor, right? Back to number one, taking a time out. And it helps. I come back and I'm like, oh, this is an easier way. I was doing it a really hard way, hitting my head against the wall too many times, taking up too much time. So that's another one. What is the next? Plan B. We all have a plan A. We all have our perfect life scenario. You know, we're gonna get to the airport, our plane's gonna leave on time. Yeah, we're gonna land, we're gonna be on vacation, everything's gonna be awesome. The hotel's gonna be exactly as it was pictured online. That doesn't always happen. All these things, right? The car is gonna pick us up at the airport on time, traffic, there's not gonna be traffic. We're gonna get to our restaurant on time, everything's gonna be great. So what happens when you get to the airport and the plane's been delayed? And you now have 3, 4, 5, to the next day to just hang out, chill, do nothing. And you're like, if you're anything like me, you're like, I don't want to waste my time just sitting, right? Because we're a multitasking society. And if you're an A-typer like myself, you're like, this is a time sucker. But it doesn't have to be, because this is a great opportunity for you to just, again, be in the moment. Okay, can you control it? No, you can't control the fact that your plane is leaving late, or the driver didn't show up on time, or there's traffic. Or the airport or the hotel is not as awesome as you thought it was, right? Those things are not in your control. What is within your control is how you're gonna choose to navigate that time. So if you're with a friend or a family member or a loved one, right, and you're traveling, this is a great opportunity to just connect with your person. You don't have the distractions of whatever it is that you're doing. So you're gonna connect with your person. Maybe you sit and have a conversation in the airport. Maybe you go and find a place to have lunch, dinner, snack, whatever. Maybe you're gonna have an adult cocktail beverage. Maybe you are going to catch up on something on your smartphone. You know, if you're a person who says, ooh, now I have an extra couple hours to do this work project, then maybe you're gonna type out an article really quick on your iPad or on your smartphone. Maybe you're gonna shoot a quick video, right, that you can save for later. Maybe you're gonna go walk a couple laps around the airport. Some of these airports are pretty big. Get some exercise in there. We know the link of moving better and moving more, feeling better, right? So have a plan B. What is your plan B when plan A doesn't work out? If you get to your hotel and you say, whoa, this is not the room I thought I was signing up for, you can A, suck it up and hang out there for however many days. Depends on, I guess, how much time are you gonna spend in the room? Are you on vacation for the hotel itself? Or are you gonna be out and about more? Are you only there for a couple days? Are you there for a week? You know, there's assessments that you can make there. But maybe what you say is, you know, this isn't cool with me. You go down to the front desk and say, gosh, you know, I was under the impression I was getting this type of room. Is there this type of room available? Or I would like to see what my upgrade options are. Or gosh, I don't want to be on the construction side of the hotel building. This isn't peaceful for me. I would love, you know, are there any rooms available on the opposite side? And then you can also take that information with you as you move forward into your next life experiences and say, remember that trip we took last year? I should probably call the hotel and just make sure, you know, is there construction next door? Are there any events? Or maybe I'm going to call and request a poolside, or maybe for some people they're like, poolside's too noisy. I'm going to call and request this other side, ocean side, whatever it is. Maybe you're going to choose a different airline because you know this airline's been unreliable. Where you're just gonna know, hey, in case we get stuck at the airport for 3 hours, I'm gonna have a good book because this is an opportunity for me to read. I used to read all the time and I love to read. I never have time to read anymore. So if I was stuck at an airport for 3 hours, I'd be like, I am reading a book and I am gonna enjoy reading that book. So there's lots of ways that you can have that backup plan, right? Create a backup plan so that when life's plan A didn't work out, you have a plan B. So, you know, not long ago, there was like severe rains and snow and all this craziness near where I live, and it was creating a lot of traffic havoc. So there were a few times where it's like, okay, I'm on my way to a meeting. Oh, there's a mudslide. Okay, great. So I'm sitting in traffic for hours. And by the time I get to the meeting was 10 minutes when it was supposed to be an hour. That was frustrating, out of my control. But I tried to look at it like, hey, I'm at a coffee shop. Now I get to indulge in a coffee beverage I don't normally have because I'm home during the week most of the time in the mornings interfacing with clients. So I thought, That's kind of cool. And now I can pop down and go to the gym earlier than I was planning on because the gym that I like to go to is relatively close to where my meeting was. So I had to reframe my perspective and pick a plan B, you know. Another time I got stuck in a car accident pile up for quite a significant amount of time, was on my way to the gym. I had to meet somebody there, and then I also wanted to get my own workout in, right? Well, by the time I got there, I was able to chat with the person for 5 or 10 minutes, which was fine, but I didn't have the hour that I thought I had for my workout. I had maybe 30 minutes. And at first I was really frustrated because I really, you know, workouts for me are therapy, and I really wanted that workout. I really wanted my therapy. But I was able to say, you know what though? Just like I tell my clients, 30 minutes is better than 0 minutes. So I made the most of those 30 minutes. I did a high intensity interval training session. I walked out of there feeling like that was not a 30 wasted minutes. That was a 30 quality minutes. So that was my plan B, right? Have a backup plan. So what are some other simple little things you can do to kind of wrap this up? We talked about taking a time out, assessing if it's in your control, reframing your perspective, and having a backup plan. Those are the big things that you can do, the steps as you move into or navigate through stress, right? Or encounter something thrown at you suddenly. Some other little things that just help you stress less and live more on a daily basis are find the joy. Simple pleasures. Simple pleasures, for me, it's my Mary Poppins mug. I love my Disney mugs. These remind me of like some awesome times. My favorite trips are my girl trips with my bestie in California when we go to Disneyland, and I pick a mug every time I go. And this is from one of those trips. So every time I have this mug in my hand, I'm reminded of that happy memory. That's a simple pleasure. This is something simple that I can do to mentally escape a little bit and put a smile on my face. Sometimes I pull up a YouTube video. There's a couple people that I follow that whenever they release a new video, I know it's gonna brighten my day. They're gonna make me laugh, they're gonna make me smile, they're gonna give some energy, shed some light, whatever it is that I'm looking for. I take a walk with my dog. My dog, again, you know, I mean, dogs are awesome. They have you in the moment. They love you when you're having a bad hair day, a zit in the middle of your nose, or cranky as all get out. They love you. They love you unconditionally. And that's hard to find in today's world, right? So that's a gift for sure. They live in the present. They help you remember to be in the present and celebrate simple joys, right? Simple pleasures of, ooh, I have 5 minutes. I have 5 minutes I didn't know I was gonna have. You can do a lot with 5 minutes. How do I know this? Because if I made you do burpees for 5 minutes, you'd be like, that's the longest 5 minutes of my life, right? Turn it around, reframe your perspective. You just got 5 minutes. What are you gonna do with that 5 minutes? Burpees if you want, right? But 5 minutes is a gift. Are you gonna download some music? Are you gonna go for a walk? Are you gonna go outside and just sit in the sun in your backyard? Are you gonna, scroll through a magazine? What are you gonna do with those 5 minutes? You could do a lot of things. Text a friend, whatever it is. So another one, happiness is contagious. So choose your tribe. I, by nature, am a kind of cheerleader personality. I'm pretty positive and optimistic most of the time. I have a tendency to be on the sarcastic side. So even when I'm acting like, snarky or whatever, I'm usually joking around. It's just kind of my personality. But everybody has a bad day, right? If you're surrounded by negative people, your bad day is going to go from 0 to 60 really fast. It's going to be amplified. Surround yourself with positive people that lift you up. Have a tribe. Have people that are going to help you see the positive when you're so clouded you can't see it. Have those friends that are going to say, yeah, you know what though? You didn't get this done, but you got your workout done. You got some classes rocking. You made a healthy dinner. Have somebody who's going to lift you up. Have somebody say, you know what? Who can relate to you too and say, you know what? I feel your pain. Today was not a great day for me either. And you can commiserate, right? Or somebody who says, man, we've had flooding rains too. My friend in California, they've had crazy rain down there this year. So, I mean, there's somebody who can relate to the crazy rain we've been getting here in Washington for sure. have somebody who gets you, and have a tribe that's going to lift you up and not let you wallow also. Because if you're surrounded by people who see the negative in everything, don't know how to laugh, don't know how to joke, don't know how to enjoy the simple pleasures, it's going to be hard for you to do that too. Happiness is contagious. When somebody starts joking around with you, have you ever been around kids? And I remember as a kid when we would be crying or we fell and skinned our knee and it was like over the top drama, our parents would come to us and start tickling us, or they'd be like, oh my gosh, how's the sidewalk? Is the sidewalk okay? And we would start laughing, right? Because of course the sidewalk's fine. It's my knee that hurts. I skinned my knee on the sidewalk. But we put it back in perspective, we lighten it up a little bit, and we remember, come on, it's only as serious as you take it, right? Some things need to be taken seriously, yes. But again, have your tribe in place, right? Have the people that lift you up, support you, rally, and remind you to see the positive. Happiness is contagious. It's a great free drug that you can get from the people you surround yourself with. And finally, celebrate your successes. It's really easy to fixate on what's not working. It's really easy to fixate on where you don't feel so successful. And sometimes I find that when we do that, we're almost giving ourselves permission to continue to repeat the offense, right? Well, I already ate 5 squares of chocolate. Might as well eat 5 more, right? I hear this from my clients all the time. Well, I already skipped 2 days of workouts. I'll just start over again next week and blow off the entire week. Why? You skipped 2 workouts. There's 7 days in a week. You got 5 more days to rock it, right? Okay, you had 5 pieces of chocolate, so you're not going to have any more, and then tomorrow maybe you're not going to have 5. But just because you went a little bit sideways doesn't mean you have to go all the way off the road, right? I mean, you went a little bit sideways, then bring it back to center. Or maybe bring it a little bit the other way, bring it back to center, like whatever it is. But you don't have to own the failure forever. I mean, you can recognize where the misstep was and then get right back on course. So, and celebrate successes. When you do something well, celebrate it. I just did 30 seconds of burpees. I could not do that 2 weeks ago. That should be celebrated. Pat yourself on the back. That's awesome. There's not a lot of people who can just rock 30 seconds of burpees, okay? What about, I couldn't do these daily movements without being in pain. Oh, now all of a sudden I can. Celebrate that. I've been eating more greens for a week. Celebrate that. A lot of people are lacking in their fruits and vegetables. If your goal was to eat more fruits and vegetables and you've been doing it, celebrate the success. Celebrate the win. When you gave yourself 4 things to accomplish that day and you accomplished all 4 things, celebrate that, right? I guess the better perspective would almost be to say, I had 10 things on my list. I got 6 of them done. Celebrate the 6 you got done. Don't stress out about the 4 that you didn't get done. And know that there's always another day. And so the next day you're going to wake up and you're going to start on those 4. It's very rare that we close the book at the end of the day and say, I did it all, and I did it all well, and I have a clean slate. Just because as we get older, we have more and more commitments, more and more obligations. We're managing not just our own life, but our relationships and our families and our businesses and all these things. So celebrate the successes as they're happening, and don't get so stuck in what you assume is the failure or the item that didn't pan out. Stress less, live more, right? I want you to stress less and find the joy more. I want you to stress less, celebrate the wins more. I want you to stress less and empower yourself to smile more. I want you to stress less and just live more. And it's not as hard as it sounds. It really isn't. And we all get stuck in the stress cycle. It's really easy, but find somebody you can reach out to when that starts to happen. If you feel like you can't manage these tips on your own anymore and you need some additional help, there's people there that can help you with that, right? And sometimes you do need to talk to a counselor. Sometimes you do need to talk to a therapist. Sometimes you just need to talk to a family member or your partner or your, trusted friend, or even your cat or your dog, because they won't talk back to you, right? They're great listeners. So whatever it is, pray, meditate, but reframe, take a break. So let's revisit stress reduction tips, right? Take a time out. Is it in your control? Reframe your perspective and have a plan B. So let's go through the rest of the week, stressing less, living more, and smiling. Have a great week, everybody.